Today's video is going to cover section 5.3, and just like we have been this whole chapter, we're going to be writing equations of lines. But today we're going to be writing equations of lines if we're given 2 points on the line. So we're still going to be using those same forms that we have learned. So primarily point-slope form, but then rewriting into slope-intercept form. But we're basically just adding on a step here. So briefly, let's recall, we have two forms now for writing equations of lines. So the first one is slope-intercept form, which is our y equals mx plus b. And we've been saying we should use that if we are given the slope and the y-intercept. And then we have point-slope form, which is right here. And we said we were going to use that if we were given the slope and a point on the line. So, some quick examples of that. The first one says, write the equation of the line with m equals -6 and b equals 2. So in this case, since I'm given the slope and the y-intercept, it obviously makes the most sense to use our slope-intercept form. So in that case, we just substitute our m and our b, and our equation is y equals -6x plus 2. Nice and easy. For example 2, now we're asked to write the equation of the line with m equals -2 that goes through point -1, 3. So here we're given a slope and a point on the line, so we're going to use point-slope form, which is y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. And by now the expectation is certainly that you've memorized this formula. And so again, we're just going to substitute, realizing that our point here gives us x1, y1. So we have y minus 3 equals -2. And now I have x minus a -1, so we make that x plus 1. So that's all review. That's what we've been doing. So the change that we're going to have today is that instead of being given the slope and a point, now the examples we're going to do, we're going to be given 2 points. So we're actually adding in a step here. The first thing we're going to have to do is find the slope using our slope formula. And if you remember, that's going to be y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So first we're going to do the slope formula, and then we'll be able to go ahead and write the equation of the line. So we're going to use slope-intercept form if we know the y-intercept. And again, that form is y equals mx plus b. And then we'll use point-slope form if we do not know the y-intercept. And again, that form is y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. So let's do some examples and see what this will look like. So let's see. Up here, example 1 says to write in slope-intercept form. So I know my answer should look like y equals mx plus b. And I want the equation of the line that passes through these 2 points. So just like we said first, just like we said a minute ago, the first thing we're going to need to do is find the slope, because I actually don't know the slope of this line yet. So I'm going to label my points x1, y1, and x2, y2. And I'm going to go ahead and find that slope using my slope formula. So I have y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And I'm going to go ahead and plug in my points. So y2 is 1, y1 is 8, so 1 minus 8 over, x2 is -5, and then x1 is 2, so minus 2. So now I'm going to simplify. 1 minus 8 is a -7. -5 minus 2 is also -7, so my slope is a +1. So now I know the slope and I know a point on that line. So I'm going to go ahead and write my equation. I can't go right to slope-intercept form though. First I'm going to have to write it in point-slope form. So my point-slope form is y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. And again, we just go ahead and substitute. So I have y minus 8 equals my slope, which is just 1, times x minus x1 is 2. So again, that's in point-slope form, and now we just have to rearrange so that I get the y by itself, so I can get into slope-intercept form. Now, this one's pretty nice. Usually we start by distributing. I'm just going to draw an arrow. I'm going to take this up here. Since I have a 1 out front, right, distributing that doesn't change anything. I have y minus 8 equals x minus 2, and so I just need to add both sides, or add 8 to both sides to get y by itself. And I get y equals x plus 6. And there's the equation in slope-intercept form. Okay, so now here's 3 more examples just to get some extra practice. So again, our goal is to write an equation in slope-intercept form of the line that passes through the 2 points. So our first step always is going to be to find the slope. So I'm going to label my points here, x1, y1, and x2, y2, and use that slope formula, which I know is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So now I have 1 minus 3 over negative 4. Now I'll have negative 4 minus a negative 7, which I know is the same as plus 7. So I get negative 2 over 3 is my slope. So now I'm going to start, again, I can't go right to slope-intercept form because I don't know the y-intercept. So I'm going to start with point-slope form. So that is y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. And I'll plug in my points and my slope. So I get y minus 3 equals negative 2/3 times x plus 7. So there's our equation in point-slope form. Now we just need to do some rearranging to get it into slope-intercept form. So again, I'm going to distribute this to get rid of my parentheses. So I have y minus 3 equals negative 2/3 x, and then this is going to give me minus 14/3. So the last thing I need to do is add 3 to both sides, and I get y equals negative 2/3 x, and I'm going to use my calculator to help me out here. Let's see. All right, there we go. There's the right key. There's my n over d key. So let's see, I have negative 14/3, and then I'm adding 3, and so my y-intercept is minus 5/3. And there's our equation in slope-intercept form. Okay, we'll just go ahead and do one more. So let's look at example B. Okay, again, I'm trying to find the equation in slope-intercept form of the line that goes through these 2 points. I know I need a slope, so that's what I'm going to do first. So if I label my points x1, y1, and x2, y2, and then I substitute, I get 1 minus a negative 6, or 1 plus 6. Hold on, I got a cough, excuse me. Okay, sorry about that. 1 plus 6 over negative 2 minus 5. So that's going to give me 7 over negative 7. So I have a slope of negative 1. And now I'm going to use my point-slope form to write the equation. So I have y plus 6 equals -1 times x minus 5. We're going to get rid of those parentheses by distributing the -1. So I have negative x. That negative times a negative turns into a plus 5. Last thing I need to do is subtract 6 from both sides. And I get y equals -x minus 1. And there's my equation in slope-intercept form. Okay, so the last piece here is just kind of a little kind of help for when you need, or some prompts on deciding which formula you should use. Okay, and I guess this is a little bit of a review. So we use slope-intercept form, right, which is our y equals mx plus b. We use that if we know the slope and the y-intercept. Point slope form, y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. We use if we know the slope and a point on the line, or we can use it if we know 2 points on the line. Because then if I know 2 points, I can use the slope formula just like we did up here, and then use point slope form. So let's look at this line here. If I were to look at this, I might think, well, I've got 2 points on that line, so I could use point slope form. But what I want you to notice here is from this graph, we actually know that y-intercept, right? I know my y-intercept, or my b value, is 3. And I can get my slope using rise over run. So my rise over run is going to be -2 because I'm going down and over 3. So now, really quickly, I can get an equation for that line using slope-intercept form. Now, I could use point slope form and I would get to the exact same place. It would just take a little more work. So let's go ahead and do that here. Let's say I only noticed that I had 2 points, so I decided to kind of do what we've been doing, use my slope formula and then point slope form. And let's see if we really get to the same place. So I have 2 points here. I'm going to call this one x1, y1, and this point x2, y2. So let's go ahead and find the slope. I know that's going to be 3 minus 5 over 0 minus a -3, so 0 plus 3, which gives me a -2/3. And graphically that makes sense because my line is going downhill. So now let's go ahead and plug this into point slope form. So I'm going to get y minus 5 equals -2/3 times x plus 3. And then to finish this off, to see if we really get the same equation, let's go ahead and convert that to slope-intercept form. So I'm going to go ahead and distribute my slope. My left side stays the same. And I'm going to get a -2/3 x. A -2/3 times a +3 is going to give me a -2. And then if I add 5 to both sides, I get y equals -2/3 x, and a -2 plus 5 is a +3. So either way, we get to the same place, but you can see if we're smart about which form we pick, we save a lot of steps. So that's it for this section. Good luck on the practice.